going on, Jerome's? So we're currently in the thick, or at least at the start of the second half of the final preseason game. So I understand that there is some danger in making a 53-man rooster projection, not talking about alien abductions, but talking about what if Tay Gowan has 17 interceptions and 9 sacks. I don't know. Don't really know. But, like I said, I got stuff to do. So let's crank this thing out. 53-man rooster projection after the final preseason game, or at least half the final preseason game. And cuts could happen as early as this evening, as you see some teams doing it who played their preseason games earlier in the week. First up, so 3 quarterbacks on the rooster, and 1 is cut. So Jordan Ta'amu, who has not, as of right, has not gotten into the final preseason game, but I think Ta'amu could be a guy that they just keep in the Rolodex in case they do need him. Maybe he vacillates onto the practice squad or not. So left column is roster, a middle column in blue is practice squad, and cut is on the right. And yes, we will have 54 names on the 53, but we'll explain here in a second. So Cousins, Nick Mullins is quarterback 1 and 2 respectively. Jaron Hall, I think he performed well enough in the final preseason game to justify a 53-man spot versus practice squad. Running backs wise, so Madison, Ty Chandler, clearly you're 1 and 2. Dwayne McBride, I think, showed enough of more bounce for the ounce, as well as good patience, good vision, good running in the final preseason game to really secure himself a roster spot. Now, King Kene, we have in green and asterisk. So I think what's going to happen with Kene is that they're going to keep him on the 53 through the initial setting and then put him on injured reserve. Now, if they put him on IR before 53 is set, that season ending, it's done. Or if they waived him with the injury designation, actually, that's what they would have to do. Either way, it wouldn't be good. But with King Kene on the 53 initially and then down onto IR, which they can bring him back after 3 weeks at the minimum. So the Vikings will have to do some gymnastics there, but that's what we're talking about. And then Abram Smith and Aaron Dykes, I don't think they've done enough to justify a practice squad spot, even though Abram did catch a touchdown in the final preseason game. It's like a Jarrell Presley. Like when he opened up a historic U.S. Bank Stadium in 2016, he had 2 touchdowns, shut down the lights, and then they let him go. It happens, man. Next up at receiver. So 5 on the roster, 3 on the practice squad. J.J. Addison, KJ Osborne, Brandon Powell, who was sitting out the final preseason game. I think that he gets into the mix as a kick returner with King Kene out, maybe even punt returner as well. Jalen Rager retains the spot on the roster. Part of it is salary, and also part of it is that he played really well. Practice squad, Tristan Jackson, Blake Prohl, who really stepped up the final preseason game, as well as Jalen Naylor, last year's 5th-round pick. He's got all the potential in the world, and Kevin O'Connell raved about his versatility, being able to play all 3 receiver spots, but it's a numbers game. I mean, I don't think that he's done enough to justify a 53 spot. I think that he would be able to get down onto the practice squad, and once he goes through initial waivers, you're able to protect a handful of players on the practice squad. You could do that with Naylor. Cut Garrett Mogg, who actually might end up on IR. Thayer Thomas, 2 muff punts. Come on, man. You're supposed to be my guy. Lucky Jackson, XFL superstar, and Jacob Copeland, the former Florida Gator, who was not in the documentary, which, by the way, the Swamp Kings Florida documentary sucked. It was just a fluff PR. It's just ridiculous, man. Same thing with Manziel. Then tight ends, keeping 3. You could convince me to keep 4, but then also what position you're going to cut back on. But roster-wise, Hawkinson, Oliver, and Munt. Again, hopefully Hawkinson is ready for week 1. Practice squad, Nick Muse and Ben Sims, the Baylor Bantam behemoth or something. I don't know, man. Colin Thompson is cut. Offensive line-wise, keeping 9 on the roster. So Darisaw, Ezra, Bradbury, Ed Ingram, Brian O'Neill, Vidarian Lowe as your swing. Well, you got Udo, so your backup left tackle. Ola Udo backing up the right. Yeah, Schlutman as your veteran center backup, as well as Blake Brandel. Tough to handle, Blake Brandel. Practice squad, Alan Ali, the UDFA from TCU. Super intriguing. Jack Snyder, the Snyder cut from San Jose State. They were the 2 starting guards with the second team in the final preseason game. Cut tackles Jared Williams, Christian DeLauro, Josh Sokol. I could see a world where maybe Sokol is in over Snyder. I think Ali is slightly ahead of both of them, but we'll see. And then Chris Reed is still on the NFI, and that'll likely carry over to the start of the regular season. And then Vikings defensively. Keeping 6 defensive linemen and then 2 on the practice squad. So Harrison, Tonga, Dean Lowry as your starting 3 defensive linemen. Bullard, who sat out the final preseason game. Jaquelin Roy, the rookie 5th rounder. And Sheldon Day playing himself into a roster spot. I think he's been that impressive in training camp and preseason. And then 2 on the practice squad. So Osaze, who has been dinged up, but Osaze onto the practice squad, last year's 5th round pick from the Gophers. TJ Smith, the defensive tackle, has really showed up and showed out during preseason as well. A 2-cut, Ross Blacklock. Yes, even though he had a sack, even though Kwesi traded for him, it comes down to, would you rather have Osaze or Blacklock? Osaze. Would you rather have Smith or Blacklock? TJ, or Sheldon Day or Blacklock? Sheldon. Then rookie UDFA Calvin Avery is also out. To the edges, so actually keeping all of the current edges in the sphere, Daniil, Davenport, Wanham, Patrick Jones, Luigi Villain. Now, going to gamble, try and get Andre Carr II down on the practice squad. Now, again, this is the danger. Like, what if Andre Carr II has 17 sacks in the second half? Don't know. But I think the Pride of Army, despite his guaranteed $340K, I think he potentially could get down onto the practice squad through waivers initially, and then you could protect him. Benton Whitley, who, I like 51, man. Like, the heart and hustle. He's got a good motor. Does need to learn how to finish a little bit better, but I think that he is intriguing enough to have on the practice squad. And then Junior Aho, the edge rusher from SMU, is basically a free spot. Doesn't count on the practice squad. Ooh, Dwayne McBride, let's go. Yeah, there we go. Then at the off-ball spots, so you got Ivan Pace Jr. I love it. So week 1 starter, give him the green dot, don't care. Asma, hopefully he's healthy and good to go. Jordan Hicks, the veteran. Tanner Vallejo coming in as a special teamer as well as a backup off-ball. 1 on the practice squad, Troy Dye, and then cut the veteran Troy Reeder, and then Wilson Huber and Abraham Beauplan. Although Beauplan was dinged up, so maybe he ends up on IR. Who knows? Then cornerbacks wise, so keeping 5 cornerbacks, because I don't really count Najee Thompson as a corner because he hasn't taken a single defensive snap, but special team extraordinaire, ace, love that he's on the roster. And then for corners, you got Murphy, Evans, Blackman, those are your 3 starters. Jawan Williams, it's a big sign that he sat out the final preseason game. Andrew Booth Jr. Makes it through inertia, and also he played decently well in the final 2 preseason games. Practice squad, so Jalen Williams, you can make a very good case that Jalen Williams should be on the 53, but played some good slot cornerback. I think that he will progress. And then Kalam Barnes, CJ Colden, the other UDFA cornerback, making things happen. Jameson Houston, who's been here for 2 seconds, and then Tay Gowan, both let go. And then for safeties wise, safety first. Harrison, Bynum, Metellus, Lewisine, and carry on my J-Word son. Theo Jackson ends up on the practice squad. Cut is Jake Gervais, although Gervais played really good in the final preseason game against Arizona, even though he's been here for like 2 days. Now, you could convince me that Gervais would be put on the practice squad, but we would have 7 safeties in the sphere. I don't really know, man. So then you'd have Greg Joseph, Ryan Wright, and Andrew DePaula. So 16, but really 17 on the practice squad would be Trishan Jackson, Blake Prohl, Jaron Naylor, 2 tight ends, Nick Muse and Ben Sims, 2 offensive linemen, Alan Ali and Jack Snyder. And then defensively, 2 defensive linemen, Osaze and TJ. 3 edges, but remember how it doesn't count to the 16. Carter II and Whitley, Troy Dye, Jalen Williams, Kalam Barnes, CJ Colden, as well as Theo Jackson round out the practice squad. And again, it is 54 since the plan would be to see what could happen is perhaps the Vikings they do waive a guy like maybe Sheldon Day, maybe a guy like Vallejo. And then they bring him back onto the 53 after the roster is set and after Kinkenna can get down on injured reserve. But that's it. That's the final 53-man roster projection. Yes, during the second half of the final preseason game. Whatever. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.